Anyway, I promised the guys a couple of questions. Does anyone have any questions for either Nolan or
Well, with those sequences like that, which I love, when the game's playing yourself and you're playing it, you're trying to avoid what's obviously having that show to the building collapse. What do you think when, like, maybe you die, it might kind of break that sequence a bit? You know, it's so amazing what happens. How do you kind of feel about balancing that?
It's a very good question. As a game designer, you know, I've thought about this subject a lot over the years. I think that actually, as long as you're selling the reality of the world in every possible way you can, like the way that all the little bits of debris, for instance, tear out as that hole's getting bigger, our audience of players accepts it. The very important thing, though, is getting them back into the flow as quickly as you possibly can. That's why, you know, we're just trying to...
Those were the finds and shots were just brilliant bits. It's kind of way you get to win the game, playing yourself, watching someone playing it. A sense of pride.
That's great, thanks. Cheers.
And well,
That's trust me, it's the easiest part of me. I've watched them put this all together, and it's remarkable. The fact that everybody in Naughty Dog does these very specific little things, like the light, you know, some specific team is on that to make that look in. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from the developers that certain guys will say, no one will ever notice this, it's such a small thing, but I'll notice. But when all those little things come together, it gives an overall realistic experience. And we just act.
Does anyone have any more questions?
Right, I've been a game designer for 3 years and I've never come across anything so scripted, like beautifully. Like, how is it that the game design is actually, is it partly code or is it just all no script or?
Oh, it's, I mean, we put together the game with a scripting language called DC. It's based on Lisp, so it gives us enough flexibility to be able to do the kinds of things that we need to do, usually coordinating animation, some visual effects and sound effects, and of course the player's input. But that's really just the glue that holds together effort from programmers, you know, writing low-level code and lots of different animators and graphics artists. Yeah, it's a good question. And
Thank God you can answer it.
Well,
she said script, and I'm like,
Not that script, no.
not the kind that, yes, you do.
Yeah, I've got a question actually about the script you like.
all right.
One of the things that we're always talking about in these games is how fantastic the actual scripting of the, you know, what's said in the second is. And I know that I read from certain places that you had a hand in that yourself. You know, little things.
Well,
how has that come across in the third one? Have you had much input to what, you know, the characters Craig says, or?
Yeah, all the stuff that all the dialogue on the script. It's all written by Amy Hennig, our creative director, and she's a brilliant writer. Also a background in graphic design and game design. I mean, she's too smart for everybody, even him.
Yeah.
And she's really brilliant. But what she does is she has no ego about her. Her humility is amazing, and she will come in with this great script and say, "Now make it better." And I'm just, when you already have something good, it's very easy to branch off and try things. You feel very confident because if you just stick with the script, it's still a great game. But then there's little extra pieces. Uncharted 2, for instance, she was, she had something written for the end sequence, and then she said, when we did it, she just looked and she goes, "Come on, can't you guys make it better? Just do what you guys do." And Emily Rose said, "All right, let's try with this." And that's when we just started walking, in our suits. And she said, "So, scale of 1 to 10, how scared are you?" And I had no idea she was going to say that. I said, She thought I'd say, "Well, we had no idea what was going to happen." And everything that went into that last take was purely off the top of our heads, and people talked about that for a while. But the majority of the story is Amy. In the gameplay sequences, where like in this thing, I made up the little line where he goes on, "Let's talk about this," because in that sequence you just watched, they'll send me, they record pictures of the gameplay that people like when you're actually an active player. They'll show it to me with no sound, and I just sit in a booth with the headphones on and do all the whoa.
It's okay.
And you start doing those things, and that's when I see him grab me. I'm like, "Talk about this!" And throwing it, and like we were telling some people yesterday, the scene when he grabs me, "I see ya." see ya. There's a couple like, why are you shooting at me? You know, because he's hanging from a plane too, and he's still shooting. You know, so we throw a bunch of stuff. We call it panning for gold because most of the time you get dirt, but every now and then there's a little nugget in there.
And that's what we take back to the studio and put into the game for your enjoyment.
So it's a real collaboration. Real collaboration between the actors and the writer and everybody. And it's, I think we all comes up to this.
Guys, I'm afraid we're out of time. I'm really sorry. I wish we could stand here all afternoon. But thank you so much for coming.
Sorry I was late.